So tonight, you will need all three of us to vote in favor. And then it will, do SUEs go to council?
They do.
Okay, they do go to council. So in order for it to be a positive to go to city council, you need all three of our votes. If you are not going to get all three of our votes, we will tell you that before we vote. And we can kick this over into the next month when we have 5. If we do have the 3 votes, we will tell you that you're more than likely to get the 3 votes, and we will proceed at the end and call it for a vote at that point in time. I'm gonna go right into, I'm gonna skip the approval of the minutes since I have not reviewed them, but I'm gonna call SUE 18725, special use in an R2 medium-density residential district for the purpose of providing personal care in a single-family dwelling for minors awaiting foster care placement on the property described as parcel numbers 44-87954 and 44-87957. The applicant owner is Brian White, Isaiah 117 House Properties. The locations are 300 Crestway Drive and 252 Crestway Drive. Mr. Mazur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as you described, they're seeking a special use exemption in an R2 it's a single-family dwelling, but what it'll provide is foster care for children. The Luther Home Society donated this land at 300 Crestway Drive and 252 Crestway Drive to Isaiah 117 House Properties. I believe there are representatives here today, and they'll speak a little bit more about what their organization does and what they're all about. In your packets, I believe you have some materials that were provided by Isaiah House as well. So the staff reviewed this, and the project review committee that consists of Paul Roman, myself, Steve Schrake. Sometimes we have others in the room too. I believe Rodney Schultz was in on that as well. The project review committee, after review of this, had no concerns or objections to the proposed special use exemption that was submitted, but with the stipulation that if the property were to sell or change hands, change ownership, that the SUE would go away essentially, and then any new owner could apply for another SUE if it's a different use, but also that no additional review would be required if the property is sold for a single-family dwelling, for a single-family residential use, which fits the R2. So we reviewed the construction and the design of the house, and it does fit the neighborhood. We also discussed if there's a change in use. So if the ownership stays the same, but let's say Isaiah House 117 decides that, well, we don't want to use it for this purpose anymore, but we have this SUE, and we want to change the use to, say, a drug rehabilitation center, then that would be another. If there's a change in use other than what is described of what they submitted, then the SUE would go away and they would have to bring it back to the Planning Commission. So those are the conditions that we recommend based on the review. And it's not that we don't trust Isaiah House 117, it's just to put a layer of protection in place, because what's being described and what's been described is pretty specific and pretty, that's very specific in what you provided. And I know you've come to city council meetings before and described what you wanted to do, and I think everybody's really supportive of it from what I've gathered. So, but this is just to kind of add a layer of protection for the neighborhood and the residents around there too. So with that, I'll take any questions that anybody would have.
Mr. Major, I'll reserve my questions for the people that are going to present this to.
Mr. Chair.
If the applicant would come up and sign in address. If you was, yeah. If we have any questions, that way we'll pick up on the mic and the people listening can do that. Identify and name and address would be fine.
I'm Jennifer Bonzek, and I am here for 300 Crestway in Oregon. Do you want me to share? I'm new to this, so do you want me to share what it is that you would that we're planning on doing? Okay. So we are building, as what you described, a single-family residential home. The home will serve as a day when children are being removed from their home. There's a gap of time. This time can last hours, sometimes even a couple of days, where kids are being removed from their homes and coming into foster care, but they don't yet have a foster home identified. And so our home serves as a soft place to land on that day in that gap. So right now, when kids are coming into care, they're going down to Lucas County Children's Services, and they're waiting hours, and again, sometimes days. In office furniture, eating from vending machines, and hanging around in office, in an office building. It's just not designed to take care of children. So what we're doing is, what we ideally would love to do is build a home that serves that purpose on that day of removal, on that moment of gap where we have that time period when kids are coming into foster care. Instead of taking them down to an office building and having them hang out in a workspace, we're bringing them to a home where they'll be greeted by name. There's comfy furniture to sit on, video games to play, a swing set in the backyard, a kitchen to cook with, a bathroom to clean up in, and that's the idea.
I have some questions.
Absolutely.
Has this been done anywhere else in the area?
There has been, not in the area. There are 57 other locations, 31 of them are open homes, and it's in 12 different states right now. So
In the
there
state
is
of Ohio?
Nope, there's another project in the Dayton area that's about right where we're at. They're seeking their permits right now as well.
About the same size and same thing that you
Yep,
wanna do
exact
right
same
now.
home.
So that's, so we're kind of like on the front edge of something like this being done.
Yeah, we would ideally be the first one in Ohio.
Okay. Couple simple questions though. Is there going to be an age limit,
Nope, it's 0 to 18.
0 to 8, not, it'll include an adult 18?
Well, I guess I should say 0 to 17 because 18 you're emancipating out of foster care. Yes, any child that comes into the home, they're always with a caseworker. So that means that we're never taking responsibility. We are a home that the caseworkers at Lucas County Children's Services can use. Again, instead of children hanging out in offices, we're just giving them a much more comfortable atmosphere to hang out in and be taken care of in than an office building. So caseworkers are always with the children. We never take responsibility for the children. We never have placement, if you will, of the children. They are always in the care of their caseworker.
Okay, so 17 is the limit?
Yeah, 17
really?
because
Okay,
18
okay.
are emancipating
Yeah,
out.
18
They're
they're
coming to
adults.
foster
They're
care at
almost-
18.
Almost
Yeah.
18.
17 and 364.
Yeah.
So, I did read about, as a matter of fact, I think the first time I read this, the duration of stay seemed like not going to be more than a day. And then the second thing I read from your last meeting was up to 2 days. What are we realistically looking at for the duration of
Realistically,
stay?
most children don't stay more than a few hours. I mean, and when
I
say-
saw that.
And when I say a few hours, I mean anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, because even down at Lucas County Children's Services, when kids are coming into care, there's court dates or there's court times and there's things that have to be done, paperwork and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Literally, when kids are coming into care and going down to Lucas County Children's Services, if they come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, realistically, they're not going to get placed until 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So,
But-
but typically within that same day is the goal.
Okay, but we don't have a limit on it.
No, and I will share, and again, I'm just kind of based off of information that I have. I'm going to speak about the houses in Indiana. I think there's 7 houses in Indiana right now. There's not a pretty little box to check for zoning in Indiana, but now they have what are called Haven Homes. And Haven Homes is basically, they came up with their own zoning in Indiana that says that kids can't stay more than 3 days. Kind of like what you're proposing, which is that if the house sells, we're the only one that has a special use permit. Beyond that, it doesn't go anywhere. We can put a cap on it, is what I'm saying. We can put a cap on it at 2 to 3 days, which is typical and standard anyways.
We don't have that currently,
And
correct?
yeah,
We didn't.
Mr. Chair, we do not have that listed as a recommended
Okay.
condition.
Yeah, and
I mean, if they
typically-
stay 3 days or 4 days or 5 days,
Yeah, and I don't
it
see
wasn't
that
a,
happening. Yeah.
and I'm
Go,
sorry.
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Pardon the interruption.
No.
I just wanted to mention too, I mean, how do you monitor that as a city too?
Well, that's,
You know,
that's
that's
part
the
of my next
difficult
question here. How
is
does that get
not-
monitored? How do we know
Yeah.
that?
Right.
I mean,
so-
who do you, you just report everything you do to Children's Services?
No, I don't report to Children's Services. I am a separate entity from Children's
Okay,
Services.
so do you keep records?
But we collaborate with Children's Services. So once the home is closer to being completely constructed, we will work with Children's Services to identify what it is that we need. So there will be training that is done for any volunteer that comes into the home. Every person will be fingerprinted, background checked. We will have trauma-informed trained volunteers that will be in the home, as well as what we call Isaiah 117 trained volunteers. So we have our own specific training to be an Isaiah 117 house volunteer. But once we get closer to that day of opening, we will collaborate with Lucas County Children's Services and say, what are you looking at? What are your needs? And how many days do you think is the max based on what the state recommends?
Yeah, I guess, I guess what I'm getting at, I appreciate your answer there.
Yeah.
It is fairly straightforward, but other than yourself and your organization, who knows who's there and how long they've been there?
The children, Lucas
Yeah.
County Children's Services, because they will always.
They will know that.
Yeah,
That's-
they'll
okay,
always
that's-
be, because any child that comes in our door will always still be,
Okay.
at
that-
every given minute, they will be with a caseworker.
Okay,
So in each home, there is an office space. It's a fully viewable office space so that Children's Services caseworkers can work on their paperwork while volunteers are playing and taking care of the kids, but they will always have a sight's view of the child. So they will always be within sight's view of the child,
okay. So
regardless of age.
maximum occupancy that you will allow in this
Yeah,
house?
it's a 2-bedroom home.
I could fit a
so-
lot of kids in a bedroom.
I suppose you could.
Spring break.
I suppose
Yeah.
you could. Typically, how we like to do it, we like to keep it no more than 2 families at a time. I know families can get large too, but we do it on when we receive a phone call from Lucas County Children's Services, they tell us what they have. We have 6 kids, we have 2 kids, we have 5 kids, their ages are this, their genders are this. They can come to the home. So just hypothetically say it's a family of 5 is our first phone call that we get for the day. That family would come in. If we got a phone call later on in the day and it was a 17-year-old child that was just coming out of, let's say, the juvenile detention center, I'm just giving hypotheticals, right? Probably not a good mix. So we would say, no, unfortunately, we can't accept him at this time. Another scenario would be that we've got the same family of 5, but maybe it's a newborn baby that's coming into care. That probably would work out well because that newborn baby would need actual hands-on as opposed to being left alone. So it would be at a case-by-case basis. When we receive the phone call, we would make a determination based on who's already at the home and who we still can staff. So we don't want it to feel like a daycare. We don't want it to feel like, an overwhelming experience. It's supposed to be meant to be lavish love. We want to lavish love on children. We want to relax them, and children that are coming into foster care, we want to make sure that this is on an already hard day, we want it to be just a little bit nicer. So we're not looking to pack a home full of kids.
Okay, so at this location, I'm looking at, is there some kind of privacy built in where no one else is gonna know where this child's at and can't find out where they're?
We don't advertise our address, no.
I'm sorry?
I can't say that nobody can found out the address, but we don't advertise our address, no. We don't just give out our address and we don't advertise the address of where we're at.
Okay, 'cause I
Any
get
location.
concerned about angry relatives,
Right. parents
tracking
or
down the
relatives,
children,
exactly,
showing
yeah.
up at the
And I
residence.
did bring, from other locations, I brought, I think it's 4 or 5 different neighbor letters from other locations, stating their experience with other locations and how it's gone for them. So I do have those if you would like to look through those as well.
So who actually funds this operation?
The community. So Jim Moline and Moline Builders, they stepped forward and said, we'd like to help build this house. And they have been a phenomenal resource. In addition to that, the community, we receive generous donations from just community members that have heard about what we're doing and want to be a part of the project.
But is that, you know, that's, I appreciate that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's finances that doesn't seem very well set in stone. When you're talking about paying for food,
Yep.
utilities,
To date, we've raised over $280,000 just since last April.
okay.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
that doesn't even include the
Mayor Sperry.
cost to construct.
I was just going to say, we had some experience, I think it was about 3 months ago, when they were here, when you were here before, and explaining the program. So they came to a city council meeting, and we were briefed on your whole operation. So it was something that wasn't, well, Joel and I were there, Paul was there. It was not new to us. They did not just bring this out. They were here before.
Okay.
And I,
Yeah, and we're, like I said, we are, there's a national, I did bring also our financial report from last year. I have the last 3 years' financial reports, if that's of any interest to you, just to show you that we are a solid organization. We've been around since 2017.
Sure.
We've got 31 open homes. And I can share that with you if you
Yeah.
have any interest.
Yeah.
You want just this past year, or would you like previous years?
No, just past year's
All
fine.
right. Do you each want one, or?
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you. You'd have to read it to me.
Here we go. So I brought these.
Okay, I have no more questions.
You do or you don't?
I don't.
Yeah, and that is what Jim was just reminding me of, is that the building has been donated by Jim and his amount, you know, he has, and again, I don't know how to exactly say it, but the subcontractors that he works with on a daily basis to do his own, that he has been rallying since I met him to pull in anybody and everybody for supply donations, you know, the necessary building materials, as well as the actual physical labor to build the home. So he's got pretty much, what I understand, pretty much all of it covered.
I saw it was like, what is it, 3,500 square feet? Yeah, so But they're not gonna finish the upstairs?
The up-
I thought I read where that wasn't gonna be finished.
The upstairs, what the upstairs is, and there might be pictures in the book, I'm not 100% sure. The upstairs is pretty much it's a large closet is what we'll call it, but it's a giving room.
Oh.
So in addition to the donations monetary donations that we've been receiving since we kicked off on April 28th of last year, the community has been we've had schools such as St. Rose, Christ the King, I know I'm going to do a terrible job. Oh, St. Ursula Academy has been phenomenal, and many other school districts, as well as personal people and businesses. Owens Corning has been a huge supporter. They did a huge Christmas drive, bringing in almost $8,000 worth of clothing items, toys, coats, hats, gloves.
Okay.
So the entire upstairs of the home is a giving room.
Okay.
It's stocked with all new items so that when children come into care, they leave with a week's worth of clothing, so 3 to 5 days worth of clothing, so that when they're going to their foster home or their kinship home, that they are set and ready to go with hygiene products, clothing, school supplies, anything that they need to be able to basically ease the transition into their next placement.
Thank you.
I have one question,
Sure.
and maybe you can just walk me through a day in the life of one of these kids as to how it starts and then gets to you and where they go.
So I would only be able to give you hypotheticals.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But removal day happens at any day or time of the night, right? So our home, even though nobody ever lives in it, our home is open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. We are on an on-call system. So if, for whatever reason it might be, whether it's a child being removed at the end of a school day, or a child being removed because they received a domestic violence call at 3 o'clock in the morning, a child is coming into care for whatever the reason is. Typically, right now, they go down to Lucas County Children's Services with a caseworker, and they're waiting in an office building until placement can be identified, and even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's no bed, and there's nothing there for them to take care of this child. There's no kitchen to cook food in, no bathroom where we can clean the kids up in. The alternative would be an Isaiah 117 house. Building the Isaiah 117 house, that same child, whether it's he or she is removed at 3 o'clock in the morning or after a school day, that caseworker or a police officer would pick them up and they would come to an Isaiah 117 home. We would then receive the phone call saying, hey, we have 3 children coming into care. Their names are this, this, and this. And names are important because we like to greet them at the door by their name. Their ages are this, this, and this, and their favorite foods are this, this, and this. So we make sure that the house is ready for them, prepared with their favorite foods, things that we know that they would ideally want. And that's part of our lavish love standards. We want to lavishly love each child that's coming into care. So when they get there, we can greet them and call them by name, and we can welcome them in, and we're going to follow their leads. So we just took what is a really, really hard day of sitting down in offices and following caseworkers around. I'm going to back up 1 second. You asked me to kind of give you an idea. So I saw the video of Isaiah 117 House in March of 2020. There is a video by the name of Mike Rowe, the host TV show. He does another video called Returning the Favor. He also does the Dirty Jobs, as we all know, but he does one called Returning the Favor. In March of 2020, I saw the video from Returning the Favor. And as a foster parent for the past 12 years, I watched this video and I knew how desperately this is needed in our area, and how, honestly, at that point, even in 2020, I couldn't believe that this wasn't the standard of kids coming into care. Why are we still taking them down to office buildings? If this is an idea that we can actually physically do nationally, why are we not doing it? I saw that video, and yet I still did nothing. I thought it would be really, really great if one of these other people commenting on all the videos, all these other Lucas County foster parents commenting on this video, would step up and say, hey, let's do this, and then I could volunteer. That was really my dream. That's what the plan was. But in September of 2022, I was down at Lucas County Children's Services getting re-fingerprinted to become a foster parent. And there was a little boy, if you've ever been into Lucas County Children's Services, you walk, well, the old one, but you walk in and you're greeted by two guys that wand you to make sure you're not carrying any weapons. And then off to the left, there's the security window with the big glass pane. And then there's usually a couple people behind there. Off to the left of that, there's a seating area. And there was a little boy in that seating area. My guess, he's probably somewhere in the nature of 8 to 10 years old. And he was sitting alone, all by himself, with his garbage bag full of personal belongings. And he was just staring at the floor, and you could just see the stiffness and the fear in his body as he was sitting there all by himself. And I started to cry, because what little 8 or 9-year-old boy should have to sit outside of a security area where 4 people are guarding you? And what message are we sending that little boy? We're supposed to be protecting him. We're supposed to be making this day a little bit easier for him. And we've just set him in a situation where he's sitting in a waiting area being viewed by 4 different security guards. We're sending this little boy the wrong message. He has done absolutely nothing wrong, and yet he is sitting there terrified of what he just did wrong to put himself in this position. And that's why Isaiah 117 House exists. We exist so that children don't have to sit by themselves. We're there to follow their lead, to listen to what they need, to hear them, and to react. We just want to make things a little bit easier and nicer for them, each and every one of them. Yeah.
So, a police officer in Oregon, we come across a child, both parents have been arrested or something's happened to them, we have a child. How do they get directed to this house?
It's going to go through Lucas County Children's Services.
Okay,
So we exist to serve Lucas
so
County.
they'll know
Children's
what's
Services.
going on and what kind of room you
Well,
have.
I would have to imagine that the officer in Oregon is going to reach out to Lucas County Children's Services and say, hey, we just found.
Well, yeah, they
boy.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and so Lucas County Children's Services is going to direct them to say, I don't know exactly how it works from there, because I've never worked for Lucas County Children's Services, honestly,
Okay.
but there's that exchange, whatever happens, to say where this child is coming into care or whatever. Again, until that home is closer to being built, whether or not that child's going to go down to Lucas County Children's Services, meet that caseworker, and that caseworker is going to bring them to us, or if they're going to, that caseworker saying, I will meet you at the home, I don't know what that,
Okay.
until that day comes, yeah.
And I assume your direction as to what happens with that child comes from Lucas County Children's
It'll be a
Services.
collaborative between Isaiah 117 House and the fact that they've been doing this through all the other locations, and Lucas County Children's Services, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. We will put a memorandum of understanding in place between our nonprofit and Lucas County Children's Services, so that there's,
And that's by their direction as to what happens to that child
yeah, exactly.
at that point. I guess my question to you is, and this goes back to the number of days, when you say it.
Yeah.
We can live with 2-3 days. I always try to think about a worst-case scenario. And if Children's Services does not move that child in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and never gives you instruction, does it help your organization to have a 3-day limit in the requirement so that you have something to say, hey, look, Children's Services, I'm gonna be in violation if I keep this.
Yeah.
Not that we want, not that we don't
Right.
want,
No, I
want you to
understand what
do the
you're
business,
saying, yeah.
but
point.
For me, I don't think Children's Services would keep a child, just based on my experience as a foster parent now. I've taken many kids on an emergency basis. You know, hypothetically, just say that they come in at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. The office is closed during that time, so they might make it till Monday, so that's, you know, at maximum a 2-day time period. And let's say 3 days if it's a holiday. But typically, any child that I've taken on an emergency basis like that,
So it wouldn't help, you don't think it would help you if we
I don't
put
think
that
it
in
helps.
there?
If it's something that makes the committee feel better, then that's, you know.
No, I want to help you
Oh.
go along. You know, if Children's
yeah.
Services sits on somebody for a week and you say, look, we got to move this.
Yeah, and I
person.
appreciate that, yeah. That is something, like I said, part of that memorandum of understanding, once the home gets closer to being built, we'll sit down and have a true meeting with Children's Services, the director there, Randy Muth, and anybody else that would be involved in that meeting, and we will actually line out a memorandum of understanding where they understand the guidelines, they understand a caseworker will always need to be under, they understand how many days that the child can be there, and typically that's guided by what the state is. I don't know what the state requirement is, but I have to believe that there's a state maximum. Again, I know Indiana's 3 days, I was told that.
So
Yeah.
I can tell you now, if a year in, you are having that difficulty, you can certainly
back
come
to
back
you.
to us and we can put that requirement in so that you do have a little bit of a hammer to
Oh, I
Children's
appreciate
Services.
that, thank you.
Because there's no way for us to monitor it.
Absolutely, I
You know,
understand, yeah.
unless there's a kid sitting outside, you know, and the neighbors see him for a week and a half.
Right.
Other than
Yeah.
that, we're not gonna go to the house, we're not gonna,
Follow
How
up
do
or
you
check in on
facilitate?
kids, yeah.
I was thinking to add in the condition where you had to go too.
well, my wife would send me
Maybe you could come
tomorrow.
once a week and mow the grass and just check in.
My wife would send me tomorrow, I got another option. So no, if there's anything we can do to help,
I appreciate that,
mean,
thank you.
I think this is a fantastic program.
Thank you very much. Any other questions I can answer for anyone?
Nope.
No, thank you,
Thanks.
thank you.
Anyone else that wishes to speak, either for or against this proposal?
So I'm Jennifer Cecil. This house will be literally next to mine. I have 2 foster kids that I got custody of, and it's not all rainbows. I've dealt with the parents of these people who know where I live and come to my house. Not only that, we already have to deal with the kids across the street. Police are there constantly. So to me and my 2 kids, I just don't want it. I know I obviously don't have a say, but I have 2 small children from foster care that I have legal custody of. And even Children's Services, when they tell you all these things, it's not what it's all meant to. It's not what they say it is. To me, Children's Services tells you what you want to hear. And this program sounds amazing. I have my two kids, I love them to death, brother and sister. And I just don't want it next to my house. And to have 2 right next to, you know, back to back, plus the Lutheran homes across the street. I mean,
There's a street that separates your house from this one though, right?
no, I'm 310 Crestway. It'll be right next to my house.
Oh, okay, okay.
I live, because I had the Habitat house. There were supposed to be 3 houses built
Oh,
back
okay.
12 years ago when I got my house. Lutheran homes didn't want that because of the kids across the street, the way they act up sometimes. They didn't want to be responsible for like broken windows. So instead of the 3 houses, they just built mine on the corner. And like I said, we've seen police I actually got violated by one of the kids across the street and had to call and have that child removed because he came to my house. Another little kid that was like 3 years old ran into my house one day and was running around my living room. The caseworker had to try and come and get this kid out of my house. He was a nonverbal autistic. I mean, I felt bad, but I've had this stuff happen at my house. So children getting taken out of foster care, little ones, I get it. I mean, I got my little girl a 1.5 years old. I got her brother at 5. But the older kids, they get angry, they get violent. It's happened. I mean, like I said, kids running across the roof, throwing stuff out the windows, calling my kids bad names. You know, I just don't want it next to my house. I see where you guys are coming from, having 2 kids from foster care, but I don't want it next to my house.
Okay, how do you feel about the fact, though, that this might not even be an overnight stay in most cases, what they're saying?
I,
An overnight.
again, I've worked with children's services.
Okay.
They tell you a lot of things. It's not always what they say. You can't predict if you're gonna find a foster home in 3 hours. You're not gonna predict you can find somebody in 3 days. I mean, my 2 kids, their mom literally kidnapped them. I don't let my kids go outside because I'm afraid that she'll do that. Parents will find out where they are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
So, my name's Charles Mays. I live at 330 Crestway, so I'm right down the street. I'm on the other side of Bleecker, so there is a little bit of a road dividing. Just a couple concerns. We've had multiple issues in the past. Kids out, no control, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We've had issues like that. I'm concerned, and I love the program you guys are doing, don't get me wrong. In the average, has it had any negative effect on property value? Because we've seen it, our property values on Crestway continue to really not increase. And that has a lot to do with the house that he was talking about at the end of the street. So we're already getting a negative impact from what is on that street. And I'm afraid we bring in more, it's gonna hurt our property value even more. And it's already not as good as it is. So that's my 2 concerns. I get it. I would say if you could do something with a lot smaller kids, it'd be a little bit different, but when you start getting into teenagers, I think you lose control over a teenager very quickly, and that's when problems happen. So if it was an age restriction, I think I'd be much more for it. But you're talking 16, 17-year-olds, and they get placed in you over a long holiday weekend, you have no control. That's basically all I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I will do my best. And I'm just going to look in this direction because but I just want to share with you that you asked about property values, and I know I'm losing my stuff here, but this is an image of the home that'll be built. It's a $600,000 home. It certainly is not going to hurt your property values in the area. I have letters of reference from, letters from other locations that have an Isaiah 117 house and have, they go on in here. One of them is a police officer himself, and he's the next door neighbor to a home, I think it's in Indiana, and there's one in Tennessee too here, and I don't know where the other houses are from. But they go on and on about how well the homes are maintained, that they've never heard anything other than joy and laughter playing in the backyard, that they have never had a cause for concern for safety, whether it's, they said that many of the people in the neighborhoods like to pitch in and help out with the Isaiah 117 house as far as decorating for Christmas or any other times out of the holiday season. Just again, to kind of keep going on, but the backyard will all be, it'll have a large privacy fence that'll go around the entire backyard. That is where our play equipment will be for the kids, swing set and whatnot. And our homes are outfitted with security cameras and whatnot to maintain a certain amount of level of security, both inside and outside of the home. And I don't know if that helps at all or not, but I would be more than happy to share these if you'd like to read through them and take a look at them. Like I said, these are just people that are neighbors in other locations that have been willing to write letters to share their experience with having a home next to them. Am I doing that? I'm talking into the microphone.
House where
So,
children's service.
But yeah, as far as values go, it'll be a beautiful home.
One-on-one.
We have a
Or
high standard as
maintenance,
far
or
as continually
chaperone on
continually
however many kids
maintaining the
are there.
home throughout its lifetime. We don't just build the home and let it go to heck. Yep.
To me, the house, beautiful house is one thing, but anything that comes, the house can be beautiful and your property value can still go down based on police reports and activity and issues that arise. So I'm just concerned about
I understand. There's a certain stigma that comes with kids coming into foster care, that the older they get, the harder they are to deal with, or the harder the circumstances are that the kids came from. Again, I can't ease all of your fears, I can't. I've been to many of these locations. I've seen these houses working. I have seen nothing but beautiful homes. I've seen kids in the homes. There's always a caseworker on site. Typically, one of the Isaiah 117, there's typically 3 employees that work at the home. So one employee is always on site, and then depending on how many kids, there are X amount of volunteers that would be in the home to take care of the children. They're not just roaming free around the yard and the house. They're always being watched and taken care of so that they're never just let loose. They're not wandering down the streets. They are being managed, I guess is what I'm saying.
But it's the same thing with people across the street. They have workers there constantly too, and we still have police called constantly. Kids are running away from the home. There's, kids throwing stuff out the windows, like I said. So that house across the street's monitored 24/7, but the kids get out and the police get called, and then the police come.
So a large difference between our house and the house across the street that you're referring to is the children don't ever live in our home. The home that you're referring to is a group home where kids live there, endlessly until they typically come with behaviors, and that's why they're in a group home, or needs, that's why they're in a group home.
I get that.
Yeah,
but
and
again,
that's not our circumstances.
So if you get a kid taken at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's still gonna be traffic, somebody coming to the house at
There
3
will be
o'clock in the morning, correct?
Typically, yes.
I mean, we have, to me, I have enough traffic with the house across the street and all that. I mean, like I said, I think what you guys are doing is great, but I don't want it next to me.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joel, I have one question for you. Discussion about the group home that's across the street. How is that allowed under our plan? Is there an SUE for that? Is there anything that has been
Mr. Chairman, I think
placed?
they don't get their permits through us. The group homes get it through the state of Ohio. We have no authority to give them their permits. They come through the state and federal government.
Okay,
It's like
so
we
that's
got
not
that,
something that was approved by anything to do with
doesn't even, we're notified that it's coming. We have no say.
Okay,
That's correct. In my previous experience, that is not something that a city can even regulate.
okay,
Or at least it's extremely difficult.
It's
So-
impossible.
Yes.
Right.
And according to when I got my Habitat home, they weren't building anything on the rest of that property. They were never gonna sell that land because of the house across the street, because of the way our.
And just for the record, when they come in, the state comes in and builds, or provides for a service like that, they call it a use by right. Because, all communities, just like schools, they have a use by right. They do not require zoning. A fire department, use by right. Same with that, and the federal government and the state, control that. Literally, if everyone in the city signed a petition, said they don't want it, has no bearing whatsoever.
No, I knew when my house was built that house was there. I'm saying Lutheran homes said they were not going to give up that end of the land because of their home. They didn't want houses built there.
I understand that. The difference between that type of home and the home these people are presenting is whoever comes to the home is chaperoned, not only by them, but Children's Services. So they're on a case-by-case deal, and they're chaperoned from the time they get there to the time they leave. And that's a big difference. And I know that it is possible someone could escape that.
I dealt with foster care system.
It's a little different.
It's not.
I also do have a letter from Jennifer Lutheran Services as our next door neighbor as a letter of support.
thank you. The chair's gonna move to close the public hearing.
You can just do that.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. At this point, the floor is open for either discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Mayor,
I would move for approval of SUE 187 of 25 with the conditions that were provided by the Architectural Design Committee.
Second.
roll, please.
Mayor Sphirion?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes.
Chairman Winkowski?
Yes. Good luck. Thank you. Good luck to what you're doing. Thank you. The second matter before the committee.
Somebody's got their panties in.
Well, she's not understanding the difference.
Is SUE 188-25, special use in a C1 neighborhood commercial district for the purpose of conducting business as a general contractor's business office and storage office on the property described as parcel number 44-46235. The applicant is Robert Dito, Blake Homes, for owner Molly Ventures Limited. The location is 6050 Navarre Avenue. Mr. Mazur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you described, the special use exemption is being requested here in a C1 neighborhood and commercial district to be used as a general contractor's business office and storage yard. So our project review committee did review this, same group, Mr. Roman, myself, Steve Schrake, and Rodney Schultz. And as you can see, can you, Dylan, can you keep that map up just for a moment? I don't know if you can, well, Navarre Avenue is to the north. The project review committee reviewed this and did not have any concerns or objections to the proposed special use exemption that was submitted, but with a couple of conditions on this one as well. The concerns that we reviewed in looking at this with outdoor storage is that the concerns of garbage and debris and dust blowing off of the property and unsightly storage, depending on what's being stored in the back. So the review committee would recommend having conditions of that all outdoor storage must remain in the rear yard, so to the south of the building line of the property, and must not create a nuisance in terms of blowing debris off-site. For instance, whatever's being stored in the back, if it's dumpsters or whatever it is, debris piles, it can't be blowing off-site. And also any development of the property that creates a change in the grade or impervious surface requires a drainage plan to be submitted and approved. Now, the issue of unsightly storage or concerns of unsightly storage, we felt as a committee that is something that would need to be addressed with the BZA. So we left anything that had to do with screening of storage out of this, but the conditions being that, any outdoor storage must remain in the rear yard and must not create a nuisance, and then they basically have to have a drainage plan if they change grade on the site. As I mentioned before, lastly, anything that had to do with screening would have to be taken up with the BZA. So with that, I'll take any questions or see if Mr. Roman wants to add anything to this.
Just to clarify, we weren't going to specify anything else in the code regarding storage, but if under the zoning code, they're required to provide buffering or something like that, and they want a variance, they would have to go to the BZA to get that variance. We left that out of our review. That's it.
Is this Thompson's property?
It
What it
is.
used to be?
It
What
is.
used to be Thompson's?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where he had the nautical shop, right? Okay. Then I'm familiar with it.
So. Do we know what kind of outdoor storage items? I mean, I guess we could save it for the applicant. The type of outdoor storage items that we're gonna be dealing with?
You want to answer that? Yeah, it's basically what's there now. Just ladders and stuff like that on the back.
Bob Dito.
Trailers, so you think, no material, I mean, building materials, will that be?
There's very little, there's some. There's very
Okay,
little.
okay. Okay.
And just for the record, the house to the east of that, he owns also. So if he's impacting the neighbors, it's himself.
And this
He's
is,
got more stuff
and
in
this
the
is
yard than
west of Bury, right? It's not quite all the way out to Bury.
No, it's, yeah, west.
Yes, I mean, it's west of Bury.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
West of Bury.
He kept it in the same location that Jerry Thompson did.
Yeah.
Oh, he- smart ass.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Peach or Mrs. Ackerman, do you have any comments or questions? Yes, please.
I'm Gerald Peach. I live at 6113 Navarre Avenue. Bob Dito has been a good neighbor across the street, and I fully support this change with whatever conditions Mr. Dito can live with and that you can accommodate.
Thank you. There being no one else here, I will move and close the public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor?
I move to accept SUE 188 of 25 with the conditions that were placed on by the city administrator from the project review committee.
Second.
Mayor Sphirion,
Yes.
Chairman Winkowski,
Yes.
Mr. Zale.
Yes.
There being no further business to come before the committee, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you.